Before it's 8 o'clock there, we'll start off. So Gerry, we're gonna kick off, run through some stuff with you, if that's okay. As I said, you have a long and glorious career with the Faughs, and it'll take a while, let's say, for anybody to match it in the current climate of the way it goes now that your career spanned over 20 Gerry, just before we go into the good years, I suppose we're going to take you back to your own kind of juvenile career with the club and the start of it and the 1950s, and it was very much a lead start for the club. They had won the championship in 1954 and head into the glorious 60s and 70s. So just take us back to the start and your own playing juvenile career.
Okay, thanks first of all, Stephen, for having me on. It's an honour. I suppose to start off, I would have went to the Beach Corner National School, and that was my first. I started to get pally with some of the lads that were there, and we used to kick a ball about at the tea breaks and that, and we got to know each other, and that's how it started. And Tony Lockman, Dickie Sullivan, Tom McManus, all those fellas were at the Beach Corner, and we decided that we'd meet couple of evenings a week in St Mary's Park for a kickabout, you know. And we were out there one evening anyway. There was about, I suppose, 15 of us from the Crescent, Main Street, Lakeview, York Street, and the Dundalk Road, and we were kicking about anyway. And we happened to see Liam Mack was out for a walk. He was walking over towards the railway line, and Tony Lockman and Dickie Sullivan called him over, and we were going to pick a match, pick two teams and have a game. And Liam jumped across the wall, and we picked two teams, and we refereed the match among ourselves. He refereed the match among ourselves, and that's how it started off. And then there was fellas from the Crescent, from Main Street, York Street, Lakeview, Muckner Street, and Dundalk Road, and the Lane Harps, of course. That was Henry Street, Thomas Street, and Church Street. We all decided that we'd have so many teams, and the Crescent team they were the strongest team in it. Then the Lane Harps said they'd get a team in it, and then we had Main Street and York Street, and we had the Dundalk Road, and we went along with the Lane Harps. So there was four teams: the Lane Harps and the Dundalk Road, the Main Street and York Street, the Crescent and Lakeview. And we actually played, Liam McGrath refereed all the matches, and we played each other. And the two teams that got to the final were the Crescent, they were a really strong team, and Main Street. And Liam McGrath refereed the final. And the Crescent were the strongly fancied to win it out. They had an all-star team. Tony Lockman, Noel Lockman, Dickie Sullivan, Nicky McInerney, John Duffy, Francis Duffy, Denny Brereton, Petey Welsh, and a man called Joe McElroy. I think the McElroy family went to America. He didn't get playing with the Faughs. So they were the fancy team, but Main Street got into the final anyway. And they had a few very strong players. Tom McManus, Tommy Duffy, Heather Duffy, Andy McNally, Sean Hughes, Ronnie Dignam, to name but a few. Anyway, they played the final. Liam McGrath was the referee, of course, and with the last play of the game, which would be about a minute, about 60 seconds, Main Street were winning by a point, and the Crescent were awarded a penalty. And Pat Flanagan, one of the best players on the Crescent team, he was the penalty taker. Heather Duffy was the goalkeeper for the Main Street, and Heather wasn't that mobile, so Tom McManus said he was going to go into goals. So the penalty was taken, and Tom McManus saved the penalty, and the Main Street won the tournament. And shortly after that, then Liam McGrath, we were out in the field one night kicking about, and Liam McGrath says, there's an under 14 championship going to be played in Monaghan this year. I'm going to put a team into it. So that was 1956 was the first time I wore the Faughs jersey in competitive football, and we had a very strong team, and we got to the final, and the final was played in Ballybay and Pierce Brothers pitch, and the referee was the famous Clontiverton and Monaghan County footballer John Rice. Played on a lovely sunny evening, and Clonus beat us in the final by a point, and that was the start of it. A couple of years later, I think the next year, we beat Knockathallen in an under-16 final, so that was the first medal that we got. Well, my first medal would have been, that's the first medal I got for playing for the Faughs against Knockathallen under-16s, and it was the minors were going very well at that time as well. The next, then I started playing with the minors, of course. And I was lucky. I was a sub on a couple of teams, a couple of years, and then I ended up getting the minor medal. The last minor championship medal that I won was 1962 against a very strong Scotstown combination, Knockathallen and Tidavnet. That was 1962. So that was how it went. But the Crescent were really ahead of the posse. They had a brand new ball. They collected money around the Crescent for a new ball. They had their own pitch. Their own pitch was in the mid-50s. Blaney was a very small town. There was no houses out from any of the roads, Dundalk Road, Carrick Road, Shady Road, Monaghan Road, or any other road. There was no new houses. And on the Shercock Road, there was nothing, only green grass on the left-hand side there. There was no houses. And opposite St Mary's Park, that was the Crescent's football pitch. They got a lawnmower. It was a lovely level pitch, and they got a lawnmower and cut the grass on it, and they lined it out, and they put goalposts in it, and it was state of the art. So Tony Lockman invited me up to play with them and to train with them in the Crescent. And when I was finished school in the evening to go home, I would bite to eat and get the boots, walk back into Dundalk Road, up onto the railway line, walk from the Stone Bridge into the railway station, and jump off at the railway station and walk up to the Crescent and play with the boys until 9 o'clock at night and back home again. So it was great time. So that was
plenty of football played.
Start of it. Yep.
Yeah. I'm not surprised the Crescent were so well organised and gathering footballs and pitches and players as well when Tony Lockman was involved.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, well, he's a leader. Yeah, he's a leader.
He was a leader from an early age. And I'd be right in saying, Gerry, you hold a record too as well, that you won 4 minor championships. And I don't think that'll be, well, it can't be beat now because of the playing rules, and I don't think it's been beat since you've won.
I would have got a medal as a sub or two in the first couple of years, and then I got on the team. But there was great footballers in the town at the time. Fantastic bunch of young players coming through. It's actually a man called Tony Hoff from Lakeview, and he would have worked in the boot factory, and he was a fantastic man over underage, the minor teams. He got started the minors, and he was a very successful man, and he had a great way with young fellas. And I would have been with him. I would have went training with the team, and I got in on this panel. And Tony, unfortunately, got ill. He took ill, and he wasn't fit to do it then. And then Liam took it over, and Liam took over the minors and the juvenile, the under-16s, and that's the way it worked out. We at that particular time, most of the finals that we played in was either Ballybay or Knockathallen. Knockathallen was part of Tidavnet Parish, which Scotstown are in. So there's actually 3 teams in Tidavnet Parish, 3 junior teams: Tidavnet, Scotstown and Knockathallen. But Knockathallen were the big minor. They were the big club down there at that particular time, and they would have been the part of the Davna parish, which runs out onto the Rosslea Bother in County Fermanagh. So they're the big strong panel, and I'll never forget them, the size of them. And they wore red jerseys with a stripe down the middle of it. Funniest jerseys you ever seen. And anyway, we had some tough battles. We had a couple of tough battles with Ballybay as well. Ballybay always had a good minor team. So well, of course, Enniskeane were quite good too. They had a strong team too. So that was it. 1962 was. We had a very good team in 1962. We beat Scotstown. Were combined with the rest of it. Was Knockathallen and Tidavnet. It was one parish, and they were very strong. So in 1962 final, at the end of the final, it was a draw, and the next day we beat them. But we had a good, strong team. Denny Brereton was on it, Mike Moore was on it, Sean McCarthy, Eamon Donnelly. We had a couple of great footballers from Oran, Pat Mackay, Brandon Lowerly, Neely Carville, PJ Flanagan. Boo Boo Irvin was on it, Pat Conlon was on it, Denny Brereton, of course, McCarthy himself, Moore, Pat Doherty, I think, was on it. A lot of those players went on to win senior championship medals.
Championships, yeah. And when you were, this was in the 50s and into the late early 60s, when you were coming strong at the minors, up ahead of you, as opposed to seniors were on a bit of a lean spell, and they weren't winning any championships, but they were starting to come good and were contesting finals by the early 60s then.
Yeah, well, I would have watched the seniors in the 50s now, because the St Mary's Park was only in the road for me, and I had a strong interest in Gaelic football from a very young age. And I remember walking in to see Blaney in most of their home games, and that'd be maybe the 50s, and they were struggling. They were struggling at that particular time. Club football was very strong in Monaghan, and you had the Enniskeane were after winning the championship in 47 and 48, and they still had a very strong team. Clonmine were senior championships in 1945, and they were very strong. And then you had Clontibbert, who won 4 in a row in the late 40s and early 50s, and Ballybay, who were winning championships. So they were the 4 strong teams. The teams in North Monaghan didn't count at that stage. Scotstown, there was Enniskeane, Donaghmane, Clontibbert and Ballybay were the strong teams. Monaghan Harps were an average team. Blaney were average or maybe below it. Emmy Vale would surface an odd time with an average team. And Scotstown were to be seen. They were a junior team until 1960.
Yeah.
The senior championship, which was the American Cup, the only North Monaghan team that ever won it was Killeven, to be honest. Or Clonus possibly way back in the day. Yeah, but the senior championship wasn't going down into North Monaghan at all. Clontibbert was the mid Monaghan team, and Ballybay were mid Monaghan, Donaghmane, Enniskeane were South Monaghan, and we were in the middle.
Yeah.
I tell you what happened. The boot factory was a big employer in Blaney in the 50s. And when the boot factory closed, Blaney lost a lot of their good players, and emigration was rife at the time, and there wasn't a lot of work about, and an awful lot of the good players emigrated. The 1946 team, I think the two Hughes brothers, that'd be Gerry and Pat Hughes, they went to work in Belfast. Charlie McGrath went to work in Dublin. Brian Finn went to work in Dublin, possibly. They were all top-class footballers, county footballers. And there would have been a lot more. And they just ran out of players. But the players that stayed there battled away and kept at it. And I remember one particular year, I don't think Blaney won a match at one particular year. And I remember hearing at an AGM where some of the administrators wanted to drop back into junior. At that particular time, there was no intermediate football. There was no relegation. There was 2 divisions in Monaghan. It was senior and junior. and the team that won the junior championship were promoted to play senior. But you didn't, if you were at the bottom of the table after a particular year, you didn't have to go down into junior. It was the club's choice. And I remember Liam McGrath stopped. The club were going down. It was a couple of men spoke very convincingly at the meeting I was at it, and they said they wanted to go back junior. There's no chance of winning anything senior. And Liam McGrath stood up and said, "Look, that's a big mistake. I don't think that. I think that's a grave mistake. I think you should never do that." He says, "If we go down there, we'll never get back." And it was correct.
It was a wise move. Yeah. And then Gerry, coming into you were saying you're talking about Liam McGrath there. He was chairman, but that also put you in the manager's seat at the time. It was completely different from the way things work now. I know Mac Malone, our chairman's there. I'd say he wouldn't like to think that if you got the chairman, you were senior manager as well.
Yeah. There was no manager. They never called the man at the top the manager. The chairman of the club was responsible for the senior team along with his administrators. And I'll tell you how Liam Mack got the job. In 1959, up until 1959, there was no secret ballot. If somebody went for the chair, it was a show of hands. If two people went for the chair at the Blaney AGM, well, it was a show of hands for each man, right? So the man that got the most votes, he was elected chairman. So there was a new motion brought in 1959 that it be a secret ballot. And Liam McGrath ran against somebody for the chair. I think it was Eddie O'Connor. And when the votes were counted, Liam Mack won the vote. Liam Mack was the new chairman of the club, and he was the man to take over the senior team. That's the way it was. And
we never look back.
His selectors were his committee. That's the way it was done. But in all clubs, I'd say in Ireland, the man that was the chairman of the club was a football man. He had to be, or we wouldn't get the chair. And that's the way it was. So Liam took over in 1959. But I was at a game in Ballybay, and I watched Blaney play in Clontibbert in 1957. And Clontibbert were a very, very, very strong team. And Blaney gave them a great run in 1957. And I said, I think Blaney's going to come. And I remember they scored 3 goals. Gabriel Murray scored 1, Artie Dignam scored 1. And the other man that scored, Peter Redmond, was the man that scored. And Paddy Irvin was in the middle of the field and he lowered it. Very good. And Richie Moore was a very good player. So Blaney were coming. They were making good strides. So in 1959, that's when Liam took over, right? So by 1960, we were in our first county final since 1951. Clontibbert beat Blaney easy in 1951. So it was progress. There was progress definitely we made. Now the final in 1960, there was objections and one thing and another. A lot of clubs, a lot of the club's administrators didn't run their affairs very well, and if a player was about, it didn't matter whether he was legal or not, to take a chance and put him in, And there was an objection in 1960. I don't know which objection it was, but the 1960 final was played about 2 weeks before Christmas, and the team that was in it was Scotstown, and Blaney got into Blaney and Scotstown in 1960. It was a winter's day in Ballybay. It started to snow when we were going to the match. When we got down to the Pierce Park, there was snow on the ground, and it was a horrible, bad, wet day. And it could have went either way. Scotstown held out. Blaney came looking for a goal near the end. Could have won it. There was nothing between the teams. They were very even. Unfortunately, Scotstown won it. So Blaney had made strides. They got to the final. It was it was progress. There's one thing I must point out, and a lot of people wouldn't know this. Scotstown were junior in 1959, and they won the junior championship. And when they won the junior championship, the Scotstown committee held a meeting and they said, look, if we can get 5 or 6 players from Knockathallen and 5 or 6 players from Davenant, because Knockathallen was a good junior team, Scotstoun were a good junior team, and Davenant were a good junior team. And they were in the same parish. It's actually Davenant parish. So they approached Knockathallen and they said, would you give us A, B, C, D and E just for the championship in 1960, and we'll let the players go back to you. And they said, okay. The approach was made to Davenant the same, and they said, will you give us A, B, C, D and E? And of course Davenant said, yeah. So you had the 15 best footballers in Davenant parish representing Scotstoun, and that's how Scotstoun beat Blaney. And Blaney were making strides, and the next year it was Blaney and Scotstoun again in 1961, and it was played in summer conditions the third week in September on a lovely sunny dry day, and everybody's expecting a great performance from Blaney because they were a coming team and they were young and they were reckoning they were ready for Scotstoun. And I went to it along with everybody else from the town, young and old, and Scotstoun ran Blaney off the park in 1961. They literally ran them off the park. Blaney, Liam McGrath changed things around a bit, and he got a physical trainer in to train the Blaney team for that particular year. And Scotstoun were far fitter, forced to the ball, destroyed Blaney. Blaney were like dead men walking. So Blaney was attacking, and that was 2 in a row. And it was usual stuff. Anyway, came home anyway, and then in 1962, Blaney were going well again. They were building, you know what I mean? They were improving and they were building. And there was another raft of objections from different clubs as regards illegal players and so forth. And the 1962 final was not played in 1962. It ran on, the objections ran on into 1963. So the 1962 final was actually played in 1963. So the 62 final, which was played in 1963, was contested by Blaney and Ballybay. Ballybay were in the final. And this is Blaney's third final. So they were expecting big things from Blaney. So I was on the panel. I was on the senior panel. I was drafted into the senior panel, and I went on to sub in 1962, and we were beat very narrowly by Ballybay. So it was a tough time. That was 3 finals in a row we were beat. It was tough.
Yeah.
And
Stop you.
of course, Blaney's no different than any other club. There was a lot of questions being asked. Liam McGrath was under pressure. And, there's a lot of experts in Blaney, the same as every other club, no different. And they had very strong points of view, etc., etc. So Liam was under pressure. Everybody's under pressure to try and get over the line, you know. So 1963, same year, Blaney battles on, gets into another final. So we're in the 1963 final. And who's in the final again? Only Ballybay. And it was played in Carrick. No, I'm wrong. It was played in Gavin Duffy Park in Monaghan. So Blaney played very well the first day, and Ballybay caught us and got back for a draw. So the 63 final was actually a draw. Right? Mm-hmm. So the general opinion around the town was that Blaney were stuck on 13 titles. We couldn't get past 13, and they were blaming this 13, unlucky 13, we'll never get past it. And a lot of negativity was creeping in. We had Ballybay beat them, we didn't beat them, and they'll probably beat us in the replay. And I remember in the dressing room that day before the replay, it was in Carrick. The replay was actually moved from Monaghan Harps to Carrick. The drawing match was in Gavin Duffy, right? So I remember that day in the dressing room, the tension, you could cut it with a knife in the dressing room. And I remember tying I was trying to tie my laces, and I was barely able to tie my laces. Everybody was nervous. Do you know what I mean? And what was wrong really with Blaney too was there was no self-belief there. If you're getting to finals and you're getting beat all the time, self-belief goes out the window. You don't have it. You can only get self-belief by winning championships. And replay, tough game, very tough game. Ballybay had got two great footballers from Cavan. I don't know how they got them. They got them anyway. They got a fellow called McMahon and a fellow called Galligan. And then Cavan were able to win in the Ulster Championship in 1962. And both McMahon and Galligan had Ulster Senior Championship medals. They were top quality footballers. And McMahon was a crack forward and Galligan was in the middle of the field. But it was a dour game and Blaney came out on top by 2 points, I think it was. And we got the cup and it was sheer relief. It was fantastic. It was unbelievable. But it was our defence that won the game for us. No, without a shadow of a doubt. We had the best.
5 points to 3 was the final score.
Thank God, yeah. I was in the Faughs. Like Ballybay had a good defence, but we were strangled. We got it very hard to get scores. But there again, self-belief. But we had 6 defenders. Peter McGinn was in goals, great goalkeeper. Dickie Sullivan, right full. Tony Carroll, fullback. Brilliant catch of a ball. Prince of fullbacks. Left full, Noel Carroll. Nairman. Right half back, Jan Tone. Powerful footballer. Mike Moore, centre half, another great footballer. Paddy Bug, left half. Fantastic defender. They won the championship for us without a shadow of a doubt. And Tony Loughlin in the middle of the field. He got man of the match. Without a shadow of a doubt. But it was a fantastic win. And it started off the first of the 5 in a row. The next year we got to another final, 64. And mind you, I have to say this before we hop on to 1964. Liam McGrath was under serious pressure to win that because, Blaney, they were that hungry for a championship that they were desperate. And it was relief all round for everybody. But 1964, back in the final, Andrew Scottstown. And we lost Tony Carroll with a knee injury. So we were in trouble with our full back, and Frank Marn went in as full back and done a fantastic job. Done very well. So we beat Scottstown, and the next year then it was 1965, and we were starting to get self-belief. There's no doubt about it. And 1965, we were getting stronger. We got to the final again, and we beat Clontibbert. Clontibbert were, I suppose, a team with a lot of tradition, but they were, I suppose, getting a wee bit old as well, but they still were very good, so they were. But we were very lucky in 1965. We added 3 new footballers. Liam added 3 new footballers to the panel, 3 very good footballers. Barney McDonald, Eamon Tabby and Brian Duffy. And Eamon Tabby and Barney McDonald are great footballers, ball carriers, great men to score, fearless. And Brian Duffy was you could play him in the centre of the field, full back, centre half, anywhere. They were versatile, and it was a great help. And it strengthened the team. So we beat Clontibbert, which was very, very good in 1965. That was 3 in a row. And we were actually getting better, and we were getting stronger. 1966, back again, beat Scottstown in the final, which was great. We're getting better again. With 2 new additions. In 1966, we got the Duffy brothers back, John Duffy and Francis Duffy, who had been away at college and studying and one thing and another. So that was a great addition. 66, that was great. And then we were going for 5 in a row, which was 67. And the team was getting stronger. And in 1967, Harry Conlon came in, Morris Hannerty came in, and Patrick Carley came in, which was leaving the panel stronger again. And there was one man there came in. I missed him, Brendan Irvin. He came in 1965, full forward, and done very well. That was in 1960. In 1965, Irvin went in full forward in a couple of the games, and he's a very strong player with a great man to fist to goal. So he made a big difference as well. And in '66, we had John Duffy and Francis Duffy coming in. One beat Scotstown again, and then we were going for 5 in a row. And 5 in a row went very well for us. Brought in new players. Liam brought in new players again. Harry Conlon, Maurice Hannerty, and Paddy Carley on top of the rest of the boys that was there. We had a full complement of players. And we won the 5 in a row, and that was a famous one. That was a great one to win.
And it was contemporaries played in that final who they themselves had the record of 4 in a row, so they were obviously out to stop you at the time.
Yeah. They won the title in 48, 49, 50 and 51. Yeah, they were a strong outfit. But it was nip and tuck. It was nip and tuck. There was nothing in it. It could have went either way. But we had a very, very good first half, but they came back strong in the second half. And there again, we lost another great man, Mac Moore. Mac Moore and Tony Carver went to America in '66, but we brought them home for the '66 final. And Tony stayed. We still had Tony full back in '67, but Mac Moore couldn't come home because he made a plate out there and he was illegal. So we didn't have Mac Moore for centre half. So Tom McManus went in centre half and done a fantastic job on Sean Woods. Sean Woods is an outstanding footballer. And it was a fantastic game, fantastic crowd. But there was a lot of pressure on us. I was after playing in 6 finals, and I'm sure all the rest of the players were the same. It was a very nervous occasion, and Blaney played very well. And we were getting better, you know.
And around that time too, you said some unusual preparation that you were going over for a couple of trips to Scotland to play games over there. Yeah,
in 1966 we were invited over to Scotland. Fat Sam, Tommy Toll, he organised that. He's a great Blaney man. And it was a fantastic weekend, and we played the team from Kerry, South Kerry. Really, it was really good now. Yeah, it was really good.
And moving on.
Yeah.
On the wheels come on. You've lost the '68 final by a narrow margin.
Yeah. No, we didn't get to the final in '68. We got
semi-final.
Yeah. We played Scotstown in Gavin Duffy Park in the semi-final in '68, and we didn't actually play that well, you know. But we were hard to beat, you know. So we got another crack at it, and the replay was maybe a fortnight later, and it was a draw again at full time in '68, and they played extra time, of course, and we were in the game up until maybe a short time before the final whistle. We were winning by 2 points, and Scotstown got I think it was a 21-yard free, and Liam started to hit it, and it went through one of our defenders' legs and into the net. It was a fluke win, you know. And we were going for 6 in a row, like, and but
and the type of football then.
Yes.
Like a lot of the matches were very close back then and low scoring. Like the type of football that probably a lot of different from what it is now, but very physical, very tough matches.
Well, they were very tough matches because the defenders or the backs, the defenders in County Monaghan would skin you alive. That's the fact. Unless you had to be very tough, because they would skin you alive, and you know what I mean. If you're a forward, you're a marked man, and you got it left, right, and centre. Like you take Eamon Harvey played his first county final in 1965 at 16 and a half years of age, and he got sad abuse, like took no prisoners, the defenders in those days. Oh yeah, but we were very lucky that we had a few very strong, tough men that would stand up for the younger ones coming in. If younger players coming into the Blaney team were well protected usually, because you had men like Noel Charvel and Mike. Noel Charvel would be one of the toughest men on our team. Tony Lockman, a trained boxer, one of the toughest. Tom McManus, the same. Richie Moore was hopping about there, and they'd always be looking out for you. Like, and if you were getting a rough time, they'd wag their finger at the boy that was at it, and that'd be the end of it. We had a lot of tough men to protect younger players, and that's how we survived, I suppose. But a lot of those matches, you said, yeah. But there's one thing, Stephen. We went out in a lot of games. To be perfectly honest, I never thought it was going to. When we got self-belief in our team and we started winning all those championships, I never thought for 1 second that we were going to lose a game. We always, and I think the rest of the team, I remember mentioning that to some of the rest of the team, and said, I feel the exact same. We had self-belief. We never thought we were going to lose a game. And a lot of teams ran us close, neck and neck. But for some unknown reason, in tight matches, we could flick a switch. It was like flicking a switch. And suddenly, in the last 7 minutes of a game, Blaney took off. And teams were going neck and neck with us. And suddenly, it'd be 1, 2, 3 points over the bar and the game was over. And Blaney won by 2 or 3. Or the ball would be back of the net. The Blaney were a fantastic team to finish in championship football. That particular team, when we were going, we were very hard to beat. And I think a lot of teams had no self-belief either, because they probably said, we're not fit to beat these fellas. They're going to come strong in the end. And we were a very strong team to come back. It was something that was built into us. It was like an instinctive thing, Yeah. With 7 minutes to go, if we were behind by a point or two, there's a game to be won here, let's go. And we go flat to the mat for 7, 8, 9 or 10 minutes, and the game will be won. And teams were dreading that, The teams were playing up. Yeah.
They always had that in their mind. Yeah. You mentioned wiring the switch. It must have been you that wired it, Gerry, was it?
Well, McGrath must have some special in his pocket. But he probably let it roar from the lane, and if you heard him roaring from the lane, there was time to buck up. There's a game to be won here.
Yeah. And you're talking about a team there that had a lot of self-belief. Obviously, that game, you're talking about this self-belief and willingness to win. Like, obviously, like, you lost 69 to Ballybay team, but after that, you went on another serious run again. So it was quickly put out of.
Well, there was changes made then from the 5 in a row. A few men retired, great footballers, and we had to replace them. But lucky enough, there was always young players coming through. Like, we were, even in that run from the 5 in a row, there was always young players coming in. And if an older player dropped out, he was probably getting past it or whatever. There was always a young man coming in to take his place. And they were only coming in 1s and 2s. It wasn't a major disaster. There's 1 or 2 players dropping out, because there was always good minors coming through, good young footballers who could fit into the system. And they were typical Blaney players. I always felt that we were a summer team, a championship team. We didn't particularly like the heavy going. I didn't anyway. The winter football, even when we when the Ulster club come in 1972, like, you think we should have done better, because I always felt that we were top of the dry sod team. We played a running game. Blaney would have been the type of football we played was instinctive. We played by instinct. Liam McGrath trained us in the Blaney field, and he trained us with the ball, with the basics. He worked on basic skills: catching the ball, kicking the ball, blocking, winning the breaking ball. You know what I mean? All that. It was simple, but it was very effective. And it meant that it was 1 for all and all for one, and We played as a team. Man in the best position gets the ball. No selfish play. You know, he didn't overcoach the teams.
Yeah.
He made it very simple, and he had a great way to connect with players. It didn't matter whether you were 16 or 36. He could make a connection, and he just tell you what he wanted you to do in different matches. He was a man ahead of his time, really. I always thought McGrath was a man ahead of his time. Like I'll give you an instance now. In 1970, right?
Yeah.
We were invited into a 7-a-side tournament. It was 7-a-side in Kilmacud, right? And it was at Easter time. And we had only been out for a couple of training sessions at the start of the year. And he called myself and Tony or some of the boys over, and he says, we're invited into a 7-a-side tournament in Dublin. Kilmacud, I think it's Kilmacud, yeah. And he says, we never played 7-a-side. What do you think? I says, aren't we playing 10-a-side every night in the field here? Why can't we play 7-a-side? And I had heard about 7-a-side. It was played a lot in County Down and played a lot maybe in Antrim and played in Roscommon and different counties. There's certain counties would have played a lot of it. I said, why not? Go up on there. So we went up to the 7-a-side and we played great stuff. And we reached the final, actually. We reached the final. We beat the Kerry champions. We beat the Down champions. We beat the Sligo champions. A famous man called Mickey Cairns played with them. We beat the Louth champions. And we beat a team from Mayo, all county champions. And we got to the final. And the other team that was in the final was Strawberry Hill physical education team from London. But there were a team of inter-county footballers. Dermot Early was on the team, along with 6 other inter-county footballers. And we played them in the final and we gave them a good run. So there we go. We never played 7-a-side in our lives. So the type of training we were in, it was suited, because the games in St Mary's Park were fantastic, and it was all ball work. Yeah. So
Ulster, the club money before is all well known.
You're breaking up.
You're travelling everywhere to play them.
Sorry,
Gerry. Can you hear me there now?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I just mentioned there that there was no Ulster club until '72, but prior to that, you would have played in the various gold watch tournaments around the country.
Yeah. We the gold watch tour. The tournament started off in the early 70s, and it was a great fundraiser for clubs all over the country, and they usually got the county champions to play in the tournaments. And we were invited into every tournament in the country. We played in a serious amount of tournaments in Northern Ireland, and won most of them. And we won the Gold Watch tournament in Kilncare twice, 2 in a row. We won the Gold Watch tournament in Carrick twice. We won the Martry tournament 3 times. We won a tournament in Louth. We won tournaments in Coal Island, Armagh, Newtown Butler, Lisnaskea, Maguire's Bridge. Every tournament we went into, we nearly always won it. And we were playing. It was improving us as a football team in the 70s, because you were playing the best teams in the country. We beat St Vincent's in the semi-final in Kilncare in '71, and it brought on the team a serious amount. It brought us on football wise as well. If you're playing top opposition, like it's bound to improve you as a football team. Like. And we played most of those matches after championship match we played the championship at maybe 3:30 in Monaghan, and we were over there for 8 o'clock in Kilncare or wherever we were going. It never cost us a thought. I don't ever remember anybody getting injured. So you hear all this stuff about fatigue and all this you know what I mean? It never bothered us. Took it in our stride. So
Yeah. 2 games in the one day.
2 games in the one day, no problem. Yeah. I tell you, to be honest, perfectly honest, Stephen, we lived for football. That particular team, it was the whole town lived for football, and it was a case of when's the next training session or when's the next match. That's all you wanted to hear. When was the next match or when was the next training session? We got that much enjoyment from it. But there again, if you're winning, makes all the difference. It was. I was addicted to it, and so was the rest of the team. It's like a drug, you know. So it was good to be part of it.
And then it was nearly. He's got 4 in a row and.
Four. Sorry. Sorry.
In the 7 these days.
You're breaking up, Stephen.
Yeah, sorry, it's coming in and out again there, but no, I just said the 74 final you were going for.
Yeah, the 74 final. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah. Hello?
Hello, Gerry. Yeah, can hear you.
Yeah, yeah. Yes?
Yeah, no, go ahead. I can hear.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're going for we were after winning 4 in a row, and we were going for a second 5 in a row. And we didn't, we weren't even talking about a second 5 in a row. It was, we got complacent actually for that match. And it's one I always, you always think of the ones you lose for some reason, you know. You think you should have won them all. But we were caught very badly. We were playing very well. We played Scotstoun in the league 4 weeks before that county final in Castleblaney in St Mary's Park, and we beat them by 18 points. We slaughtered them. And we took our eye of the ball. We were complacent, and we paid a dear price for it. We played very poorly in the first half and couldn't get into the game. We took our eye off the ball. That was one was threw away without a shadow of a doubt.
And then, of course, you bounced back the next year, regained the championship in 70.
Yeah, we did. We came back, 75, yeah. It was it. Yeah, Liam he made a lot of changes to the team in 75. We struggled to get into the final in 75. Actually, we only drew with Anna Mullen in the 4th round, and then we beat them in the replay. In the meantime, I got injured. I injured my shoulder with the county playing against Armagh and Dungannon, and I was off. I didn't play in the Killeven game, and I was back for the final in 75. Came back for the final against Scotstoun. Scotstoun were hotly fancied because they beat us in 74, of course. And Liam brought on a lot of new footballers. The 75 team, nobody knew that this was going to happen. And Scotstoun were hotly fancied to win the match. And Liam brought in the famous Nudie Hughes, Phil Brady, Hugh Doherty, Frank McQuillan, Anthony McCarter, Noel Shields. You hear that?
Yeah, I hear you. Keep going.
Yeah, Liam, he brought those players in, along with, there was only five of the 67 5 in a row team left. And that was Mike Moore, myself, Barney McDonald, Liam Matavi, and Denny Brereton. That's all that was left of the 5 in a row team. But then we had great good footballers brought in. In the meantime, we had Desi Mulligan, Pat McEnany, that bunch of Vincent McDonald, Bubbles McNeil. You know, we had a lot of experience there, and we played very well that day. And them young fellas, Nudie and all those young fellas, the gunner and all them men played very well, and it was a fantastic win. It made up for 74 actually. So it was 75 was actually a great win, and we had a great run in the Ulster that year. We got to an Ulster final against St Joseph's, and we didn't beat them, but the team was very young, you know, a lot of good young footballers.
Yeah, it boded well then for what was to come ahead of that, I suppose. You mentioned your shoulder too, and you've let it be known that you probably weren't going to be playing that day, and then appeared on the pitch. But it wasn't the only time. In 76 as well.
Yeah. I trained for a couple of weeks with a sling on it, and of course Liam was a very shrewd man. He was doing a bit of writing in the Standard, and I wasn't going to be playing. Everybody was convinced of that, you know. So when the team lined out and marching off the band, I was there. So might have caught Scotland on the hop a bit, you know. So it was it worked anyway. So we were very, very determined that day. There was no complacency. We had vengeance in our blood for the loss in 74. So we were out to get Scotland, and we done it. Famous win. It was a famous win. Yeah.
Yeah. Bounce back strong. And just then in moving on, Gerry, there you were probably one of the, you were saying 77, they got the better of you and went in a bit of a run themselves, like.
Well, we played in the final again in 76. Then we got to the final in 76.
Yeah.
Against Ballybay, and it was a draw in Carrick, and we won the replay. So all those young fellas were on that team. No, it was a great experience for them. So that was 2 in a row for all them young players, you know. So they were building up for the next one, you know. 76, I broke my thumb. I got my thumb smashed against Scotstown, and I wasn't supposed to be playing either, but I got a job done on it, and put a glove over my left hand and played all right. Yeah, it's a good one to win too, you know.
So it took another while. 77 for the own 5 in a row.
Sorry, Stephen.
Gerry, just Scott on the 5 in a row into the
Didn't get you, Stephen. I didn't catch that. You're breaking up.
It was Scottstown then done 5 in a row, and it took all you had to get it back off them in 82.
70, yeah. Scotland took over after 77, 78, 79, 80, and 81. They won 5 in a row. We gave them a very, very good run in 81, but we didn't catch them. They were a strong, experienced team. They won the 5 in a row, yeah. But we beat them in 82, yeah. With a great win in 82. That was Declan Loughman's first championship in 82. Declan Loughman was only 16 and a half when he played in 82. That's a fight, yeah. He played in the Scottish team. He went in as a sub against Scotstown in Canterbury that day, and he played in the final against Ballybay in 82, yeah. and won his first championship medal.
And you were still going strong at the time.
Well, I was still playing. Like I was a sub. I played in an earlier round. I was a sub on the team, and then I got an injury at work, and I wasn't tugged out for the '82 final. But it was a great win, to come back to win it, like. And then there was another lull. 83. Liam stepped down in '83, and then we were beat. We were beaten the first round in '83, and we got to the league final in '82. Sorry, in '82 we got to the league final. We get to the league final. '83 we got to the league final, yeah, and we were beaten 10-1. That was my last match. We were hammered. '84 then beaten again in the first or second round. '85 we got to the county final. Tony Lockman was the manager and did very well with a young team in '85. We were unlucky. They scored a couple of slack goals against us and they won it. Then in '86 Liam McGrath came back into team management and I was with him. We won the championship and won the Ulster. And it was a very good year. The best game of Gaelic football that I saw Blaney playing since I started playing football until I finished was the game against Balahi in the Ulster Club in '86 in the semi-final. It was the most complete display of Gaelic football I ever saw by a Blaney team. Sorry?
He wasn't it?
Yeah, against Balahi, yeah. Gerry Smith was training the team. He was the coach, yeah. So it was a perfect display of Gaelic football, yeah. Best I ever saw. And we beat Bourne in the final, which was a very, very, very good win, yeah. And we played a team from Cork in the All-Ireland semi-final, Finbars, and we drew with them in St Mary's Park, and they won the replay in Cork. But it was a good year all round.
Good times. And when you finished playing then, Gerry, you kind of kept involved for a number of years in different capacities as selector and as manager in your own right.
Yeah. I was involved, yeah. Well, my last game at the Faughs was in the league final in '83, yeah. We were hammered that day, but anyway, I was involved with Gerry Smith in '84. I was with Tony Lockman in '85. I was Liam McGrath with '86, '7, '8. I was with Liam, and we won the championship. We were beaten in '87, and we won the championship again in '88. And I was involved with Maracloon for a few years then. 89, I was involved with Maracloon, yeah, they won the intermediate championship, yeah. And in 1990, Dickie Sullivan got the job with the Faughs in 1990. So that was that was good. That was a good year too.
That was the famous Enniskeane final.
Yeah, that was the famous Enniskeane final, and there was. I'll tell you, it was some final, but it was a fantastic finish. The Blaney finish was always there. Lucky enough. It was a great finish. Like Liam stood down in '89, and Seven Dickie took over, and we had to sort of build we had to build a team to a certain degree. We had to bring in a lot of young players because some of the older ones had quit, and we were actually building a team, but Declan Flanagan was the goalkeeper in the final, and it was full back line was Tom Russell, Declan Lockman, and Johnny Hughes, Dermot Duffy, Morley Tarvey, and Emmett Brennan was the half back line. Phil Brady in the middle of the field along with Derek Sullivan. Half forward line, Edwin Murphy, Eamon McEnany and Peter Duffy. And the full forward line was Mark O'Connor, Nudie Hughes and Stephen White. And it was fantastic. It was fantastic work by the team. You know what I mean? We got out of jail. Like Enniskeane were giving us serious trouble in the first half, and the Blaney team never threw in the towel. It kept going and kept going and kept at it and kept getting the scores. And the last score, the last goal was the killer punch and Blaney won the championship. It was fantastic, like. But you know what I mean. If you go through the players that was on that team, the top player, you had some of the best footballers in Ireland. Nudie Hughes, 3 times All-Star, Eamon McEnany, Declan Lockman, Declan Flanagan, Stephen White. There's 5 players that would walk on the any county team in Ireland at the time. That was a great start. Then you had great club players. You had great club players. You had a strong team. You had Emmett Brennan, great club player. Phil the Gunner Brady, Nairn Mann, Keith Hannerty, Johnny Hughes, Tom Russell. And the young minors that we drafted into that team, like, they were great footballers and proved afterwards that they all nearly played county football. Aidan Tarvey, Dermot Duffy, Derek Sullivan, Edwin Murphy, Mark O'Connor. You know, they came off. They were only minors in that final. You know, that was fantastic. It was one of the sweetest championship wins of all time, without a shadow of a doubt. And then you had a strong panel of young fellas. You had Liam O'Connor and you had Ray McCarter and Porrick McDonald and all them fellas, Pete McMahon, and you know, we were it was the players that won that final. There was no doubt. It was a great victory, like.
And the Bruce Award the next year when Ulster that team final next year.
Yeah, but we were given that job. Shav and Dickie Sullivan, we took it on and said we'll give it our best shot, you know. But as you know, and everybody else around Blaney knows, in those days there was no 3-year plan in Blaney. There was a 1-year plan in Blaney. And if you didn't deliver your first year, it was all over, like. And it's the famous Tipperary footballer and hurler Bob Keaton once quoted, and I remember him saying it. He said, "Anybody that's involved in the GAA knows very well that a clap in the back is only 2 foot away from a kick in the arse." And so we would have got.
Yeah, very good. I've a comment there just to share with you.
Sorry?
Just a message here from Tom Galanders for you. He said Fitch and Dickey took over in 1990 when nobody was stepping forward. Great club men who would never leave us short. I think that says a lot.
Say that again.
He said Fitch and Dickey took over in 1990 when nobody was going forward. Great club men who would never leave us short.
Yeah. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, you always are one. I have another question there for you, Gerry, if I can just ask you, that's okay.
Yeah.
Paddy Conlon wants to know, are there 3 Faughs players that have played since you retired? So players like to have played.
You're breaking up, Stephen, sorry.
Sorry, no, it's my problem this side, Gerry. A question for you. Is there 3 Faughs players since Gerry retired that he would have liked to play with?
3 Faughs players. Say that again.
Yeah, is there 3 Faughs players since you've retired that you would like to have played with? So 3 that you would like to have played with.
Well, sure. Well, I played with Declan Lockman. I played with Nudie. Played with Ian McInerney. Played with Declan Flanagan. I'd like to play in the middle of the field with the gunner. He could break the ball down to me.
You didn't have to do the hard work.
Yeah.
Another Gerry, just you played for many years with the county as well, but you also played with Ulster in 1972. Railway Cup had been massive at the time.
Yeah.
That must have been a great highlight for you.
It was great. Yeah, it was great to get that. Yeah, definitely was. Yeah, it was a good honour. Yeah.
Very good. I have another comment there for you as well, Gerry. Just from Pádraig McDonald in Dublin. Saying that he's very interesting to hear that Liam Mack's coaching philosophy was all about the ball and the basic skills. He says that was carried through to a lot of the juvenile teams that he played with in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. Well, Liam Mack he's a man ahead of his time. Like Liam Mack got me to play. He often laid me out a corner forward, and he said, "You come out and play between the 221s." You know, that's the way back in the 70s. You know, he was a man ahead of his time. Like he was top class. Like, and he was a ruthless winner. Like, there's no doubt about it. Like, and he picked the best 15, and that was it. And you know, there's no apologies for it. Yeah.
I have another comment here for you, Gerry, that from our current county man, Dermot Malone. Don't forget, he's still the most biased. He's still the most biased linesman in the country too. It's a measure, Gerry. He's still, for the senior games, Gerry will be found doing the line on regular occasions out at the field.
Yeah. But I was going back to Liam McGrath again. Liam McGrath would give his team talk in the dressing room. And the last thing he'd say in most of those finals, I remember a couple of times he mentioned it. He said, it'd be the last thing he'd say before he went out. He'd say, "Remember this, boys. There's 30 clubs in County Monaghan, and there's 29 of them cheering against us today." He says, "Go out and do the business." So every man that left that dressing room, he was prepared to put his life on the line. He would have you that high, that he'd motivate you that well, that you were 10 feet tall going out through the door. And it was meant that much. We took it very seriously, and that's the way it was. We lived for it, and it was win at all costs. Losing wasn't an option, and I suppose that's the right way. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It paid there.
I remember it must have been 1981 or whatever it was. I was tugging out. I was tugged out and I was ready for action. And I think it was 3 or somebody were playing 81 or 82. And a man came over to me, one of his selectors. He must have been a selector, and he says, "You're not starting, Gerry." I said, "What?" He says, "You're not starting, Gerry."
No.
And I said, "What?" And he may as well give me the 2 barrels of a shot going into the chest, because I had never been dropped. But I was dropped for the championship, and that was. And, I said, oh, all right. And so that was that. I was dropped, and there was no apologies. Some young fella got on, but my legs were gone at the time, and you don't think your legs are gone. Your brain's telling you that your legs are not gone, but when your legs go, that's it. And Liam was right. Some young fella got on and played well, but you're not used to getting a start in Jersey. That is very, very hard to take at the time, but you have to accept it, and that's the way it was. But
Yeah.
Liam sent the messenger.
Yeah.
And the messenger came after the game. Blaney won the game well, and the messenger came to me after the game and he put his arm around me. He says, "Are you all right?" I says, "Never felt better." But he knew
once the team won.
He knew, yeah, that was it, yeah. But you had to suck it up, yeah. But there comes a time when you're no matter how much training, when your legs go, no matter how much training you do, no matter how well you look after yourself, when your legs go, you can't cover the ground, and that's it. You have to let a young man take your place. So that's the way it was.
That was it. I have a question here for you, Gerry, from Declan Lockman. He wants to know who was the best player you played with and your toughest opponent.
Who was the best player I played with?
Well, the best player and your.
Well, I played on the Blaney half forward line in the 5-in-a-row final. Was Eamon Tabby, myself, and Barney McDonnell, and that was one of the best, the two of the best men I played with on the Faughs team. But I played along with Nudie. I played along with Declan Lockman when I was past my best. Played along with Desi Mulligan, was very good. Played in the middle of the field in 2 or 3 county finals with Desi. But I'd say the best cornerback I ever saw was Noel Carville. As a forward, I can honestly say this. Our defenders were that good. We used to get our energy from the defenders that were so heroic and such great defenders and so tough, that when the Tony Carville or Noel Carville or Jan Toll or Mike Moore or Paddy Bug or Dickie Shaw come out with a ball, we got our energy. Our forwards got their energy from our defenders. They were that good and that tight. They were putting their life on the line to block balls and one thing and another. So I felt that was one of the strong points of our team, because we depended on each other so much and we trusted each other so much, and we were one big family. You know what I mean? And that's how we were so successful in that 5-in-a-row, and then the 4-in-a-row and the 2-in-a-row and all of them bits. You know, so it was great to be involved with a great club. You know. Well, hello. Lost him.
Well, Gerry, can you hear us there?
Yeah, I lost you there for a minute, yeah.
I think Stephen's sound's just gone down, Gerry.
Right.
I don't know if he's going to get it back up there or not.
Yeah, well, I'll hang on here. I'll hang on anyway. Well, I'll hold on here anyway.
No bother.
Yeah. Sound must have went down. Must be.
Hello.
Hello, yeah,
Hello.
are you okay?
Sorry, yeah, I'm just back in there.
All right.
crashed out.
God.
And Gerry also asked for your toughest opponent. Did you get an answer to that?
Sorry, Stephen, you're breaking up.
Yeah, sorry, it's just bad here at the minute. Declan was also asking about your toughest opponent. Did you give him an answer to that?
Toughest opponent. Fergus Caulfield.
Aye.
Yeah.
Right.
Hard man, yeah. 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 A hard man, yeah.
Joey. I've done this with Jack beforehand, matches and Pacifics and all that, but without doubt, the shame tonight. Just incredible to listen to all them stories and matches over the years, and very interesting as always. Thanks a million for that.
One thing I forgot to mention there. When we, after the 90 final against Enniskeane, the 91 year, I thought the team done very well in 91 as well. They done fantastic, like to win the championship and win the Ulster, you know. I forgot to mention there that in 1991, we lost our goalkeeper. Declan Flanagan went to work in England, right? And we were in a bad way for a goalkeeper. And our sub-goalkeeper, he was in the army and he went to Lebanon. So we were left with no goalkeeper. And we were in Seven Dicky were out in the field with the squad we were training, and George Duffy was kicking about, and George Duffy caught a couple of great balls, and I says, George, can you kick a ball off the ground? And he says, I'll have a go at it. I put a ball down and he hit it and he drove it out to the centre of the field. And we put George in goals in the training, and George got his place in goals for the entire season, won a senior championship and won an Ulster Club championship. And he done a great job in goals for us. Very good. Because Declan Flanagan gone to a big job in England, we couldn't get him home, and the other man was gone. And another man came in 91 as well and done a great job. Keith Hannerty got injured. And Eamon McMahon, a tough man too, he came in 1991 and done a great job at wing half back for us. And we got two other good men. Brendan Doc Duffy, I don't know where he came out of. He came back, he transferred back into the club and done a very, very good job at corner forward. And we got Sid Connolly back. I don't know where he was, he probably made him in about. But he done a great job corner back in 1991. Those four players made a big difference in 1991. It was great to win that Ulster in 1991. I'd be very disappointed. I'd be very disappointed with all the games we won, and especially the All-Ireland semi-final against Thomas Davis. It's one of the, when you're a manager, in hindsight, you think of 1,000 things you should have done, or you could have done, or you didn't do. And management's tough because you feel responsible for every player on the panel. If the result doesn't go for you, you take it personal, and it's actually worse than if you were as a player. I think it's worse. It's tougher on the manager. I always felt that. I know when you're a player. I remember the match that Scotstown caught us going for the second 5 in a row. Was Scotstown caught us flat, 74, and I remember that evening after we came home, I was in bad form in 1974, and I was walking around the house, and Marie says, maybe we'll go into town for a drink. And I says, all right, but we're not going to a football pub. We'll not go to a football pub. So we went to a quiet pub, as I thought, and I went up to the bar to get a drink anyway, and the next thing, I got the tap on the shoulder, and I turned around, and it was a lady she was a big Blaney supporter, and she says, "What the name of God were you at? You're a disgrace. I'll never go to another match, paying big money in to watch that junk." And I got an awful tongue altogether. And going to a quiet pub, but she told me in no uncertain terms what she thought. So 74 it was a sickener, and 69 was a sickener. And every match you lose, they're the ones you think about that you could have won and should have won. But that's the way it is. Like, you want to win them all.
And you're a gent, Gerry. You wouldn't name or shame, or you.
No, I don't. No. No, but there was a quiet. I thought there'd be no Blaney supporters about, but there was. Having about, but we made up for it in 75.
You'd no social media back then to get the names in the back. You got it up to you.
That's right. That's exactly it. Yeah.
Yes, and that was.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Thanks very much.
I was delighted last year with the way things turned out. Sorry.
Go ahead. Continue.
I was in great form last year. The way the year ended, that the seniors stayed up in senior football. It was great, and the icing on the cake was the minor win was fantastic, and the senior management deserved great credit. Colin Donnelly and Stephen and Eddie Kelly and everybody that was involved, and the minor management were fantastic as well. It was great to see Blaney minor team playing the football they did play, and I want to congratulate Declan Lockman, Morley Tavi, Damien Hughes, and the man that was up on the stand, Rambo, for doing a great job. Great win. It lifted everybody's spirits, and it bodes well for the future.
Absolutely, Gerry. Well done, and thanks for that.
Yeah. There was the senior management were under a lot of pressure. It's a tough job. A lot of people don't realise that. And Blaney are team building. You have to team build, and there's only one way we're going to. I would think there's only one way we're going to get up the ladder and start contesting for senior championships, and it's hard work. Just work a lot harder than we're doing. If it means 4 nights in the field, that's what we have to do. You have to work at your game, and you have to improve. If you have the right attitude, it will happen. And hopefully this year or next year, whenever it will. I don't know when the football's going to start this year, but if we came out, looking at the minor team, there's a lot of great young footballers coming through, and the future does look good. And I think if we work hard and keep working at it, we'll get there.
Absolutely, yeah. Gerry. We'd all be all optimistic. I was last year involved in leaving Dunamane. I was relieved. There's more than anything else, and I think by the time I got back to Blaney, I'd myself convinced that next one. You just have to work hard with it and make it happen.
That's right.
Anybody else to add in there? Just a couple of things I just want to say myself. Just thanks to Anthony Lockman, who sent me through pictures. He also these sessions and puts them up on YouTube. So massive thanks to Anthony for that. And there was a wee comment there Mac Malone put in about a picture of Gerry there winning a Monaghan GA volunteer award, and we all know the great club man he is round the field. Year, he sold an unbelievable amount of tickets for the raffle that time, and as everybody's aware, they've probably seen the pictures up or the videos doing the rounds on social media of the current draw that the club's doing for the car and tent. other prizes and that. Another fantastic minute. The club we did hockey and duty. We put on an exhibition, so they did on the video. So I just hope everybody can support the draw. It's at winanewcar.ie is the website and that. So we spread the word out there. All the proceeds go for the work that's already done to get the development finished. So if anybody's anything else for Gerry there before we finish up, or Gerry, anything else to throw our way?
No,
I don't think we've left too much out, any of Gerry, that's for sure.
Fundraiser, Stephen.
I did. I just mentioned it there.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we need more money to develop the new pitch. Simple as, and I would appeal to everybody involved with the Faughs that they either sell a ticket or buy a ticket. We have to keep pushing, because we have to think of the future for the young players in the Faughs, and we have a ladies football team now as well. So I mean, we need the facilities. Prunty pitch. If with one Prunty pitch you can't operate, because if you overwork a Prunty pitch, it means spending a lot of money to repair it again. So our backs are to the wall. We need to get this new project up and running, get the pitches ready for training, and it's for the future of the young people of the town. And I appeal to everybody to put an effort in to raise as much money as we can for this project. But it's going in the right direction. It's great to get it started. Once you get a project started, we'll have to drive on with
it. Absolutely. winanewcar.ie, everybody can.
Yeah.
Stories and reading all that with us. I'm sure messages coming in to thank you for it, and just to say what an absolute legend that you are, which we'll have to agree with. Next week I have somebody else lined up. Eamon McEnany is going to be our guest next week, so we'll have a different perspective as well. What possessed the Canaries as well. So we'll put that to Eamon next week. So just thanks a million, Gerry, for that, and apologies about the sound, man. There was some issues with broadband, it seems, here, so apologies for that. So
delighted to have me on. I want to thank you for having me on for the crack, and I enjoyed it very much, and best of luck to everybody.
Thank you, and thanks very much, Gerry. That's great. Thanks, folks, and we'll see you next week.